Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. The next comment or question is quite an interesting one. It was actually two questions on the same video. So the first question comes from Barmin Science, and the second question kind of answer comes from Leading Motive. And both of these were in response to a video I did, which was how to trigger multiple tones from the library cards on your Roland U-110, a video I did in March 2016. Now, the original question was, I would also love to know this. I follow the guidelines, they do nothing. I just want to play single sounds one at a time from the cards. Any help would be appreciated. So then Leading Motive jumps in, and this was before I think I had the videos set. So I have a policy on the channel that I actually hold all comments, because what I was starting to see was I was seeing unscrupulous people put things like postings to porn sites and stuff like that in the comments to my videos. So in order to stop that, the only way to stop that is to effectively screen the comments. There's no other way to do it, because YouTube doesn't help you out. It just allows people to write what they want. So to stop that, I screened the comments, and before I started screening the comments, Leading Motive was able to actually write this. And he writes, the U1 mode does not have a single patch mode, often found in newer machines. It's always in multi-patch mode, i.e. ready to play 6 different sounds, typically on different MIDI channels at the same time. So if you only want to play a single sound, you need to know what MIDI channel your master keyboard or sequencer is sending messages on, and set up the U110 accordingly, so that only the part will react to the MIDI channel that you are transmitting on. And that is the part you will use to switch from one sound to another. The card and the sound number are selected on the same screen. It's not difficult. Yeah, so I mean the basic crux of the answer is actually within that. What I would say is that even though Leading Motive has already stated the solution, the U110 and U220 assume that the cards are added to the slot should receive MIDI information on a specific channel. That's kind of the key to this. Now this is where my memory will let me down, as I can't remember whether it's the default. It defaults all to receive on channel 1, or 1 for internal and 2 for slot 1, etc, etc. I can't remember how it works. It's a long time since I had to set it up, so you'll need to look through the menu parameters for the cards, and you should be able to pick it up. Now I think by default the U110 receives everything on channel 1, but then it is not a process. The process is not essentially the same. You put the card into the instrument and assign it to listen on a MIDI channel that you are using. So if you don't want it to receive on channel 1, you need to assign the card. I think you need to assign the card to receive on a different channel, and then set your transmitting device to transmit on that channel, and then the sounds that you have selected on the card should play. So e.g. if you're using drums or percussion, then the cards in the U110, you might want to set the channel for that card to 10, which is the standard MIDI instrument channel for drums and percussion. Now these were very, very useful instruments. I mean, I've always found the U110 and the U220 very, very useful, because what they do is they give you quite a lot of sound reinforcement for not a lot of bang, not a lot of buck. A lot of people overlook these two Roppler platforms when buying studio equipment, because they're not seen as sexy. But to be honest, the U110 and the U220 give you a lot of bang for your buck. So you know, if you're looking for cheap sound expansion, these are quite possibly something you should be looking at. Next one comes from J. Soul Kane in response to Behringer Showcase the Selena, a video I did in September 2022. And I think this was in response to sort of stuff, some comments I made about the music exchange shops in Notting Hill, which is a suburb of London for those that don't know. And they were called Record and Tape. There was only one that sold musical instruments. The others sold other stuff. I bought an EMS Synth I, a Prophet 10, an Octave Cat, and a mini synth, I think. There's no commas, so it's very difficult to work out whether that was one synth or two synths, etc., etc. Now, I have to be honest and say, you've got to think back that when I lived in West London, which is where I grew up, this would have been the late 80s, early 90s when I used to frequent Notting Hill. I've got a flutterby behind me. Anyway, so this was the late 80s, early 90s when I used to frequent this area. And I'm pretty sure that they were called the Notting Hill Music Exchange. There was other brands of record shop in that area, not called Notting Hill Music Exchange, but a lot of them were called the Notting Hill Music Exchange. They sold different equipment, not in just a single shop. This is my memory. And now I could be wrong, but I may be different. Now, the actual music exchange where they bought and sold records had many, many different outlets dotted around the area. Couldn't tell you exactly how many, but there were many outlets. And they just recycled records and CDs. And I have to be honest and say they had the most interesting way of buying vinyl I've ever seen in my entire life. They didn't look at what vinyl you brought in, they just put it against a ruler and they gave you X amount of money per inch. It was bizarre. But when you're a DJ and you want to get rid of all the promo records you get sold, it's a good way of earning money, to be honest. But I'm pretty sure there was several shops there that sold electronic equipment and guitars and amps and various other bits. I mean, there was definitely one that sold brass instruments. I can remember that, which wasn't, they didn't have anything else. It was kind of all brass, all that sort of stuff. But again, that was 30 years ago, and since then, a lot of things have flowed under the bridge, if you like.